Good evening. So catching up with the remnant requests. We have a French Canadian agent in the field, and he sent 3 and 1, but they're different enough requests. I'm going to do a separate video on this one here. And he asks 3 videos. This one being the benefit of a true minimalist housing, aka cheapest traditional housing possible versus longer term savings, aka self-sufficient houses, especially for a place like Canada where the real estate is cheap but the food is pricey. I said, could you clarify that a bit? He says, sure. He says, as for your request to expand on point 2, I'm talking about green heart / backyard to grow vegetables, raise chickens, rabbits, or even have installed a small hydroelectric turbine if you have both a small decline in running water on your terrain. You get the benefits of reduced cost of living and greater independence. Should hit the fan, but an extra cost up front. I suspect the true minimalist house to have none of these unless land is very cheap for the backyard, a wood-burning stove, and that raising any animal will be considered extra work, even if the benefit food is tax-free. And so here it's let's talk about what a minimalist household, and then we're going to talk about when the shit hits the fan, because to be truthful, food is so dirt cheap. Now, I know in Canada it's expensive. It's still going to be way more costly, time, money, and labor and resources of you going and growing your own food and maintaining a livestock and essentially running a farm, right? Food is just, and I've looked at that because I remember trying to grow jalapeno peppers, and dude, I wasted easily 100 times the labor than if I had just gone to the grocery store and picked it up for 15 cents. So in a shit hits the fan scenario, all right, that might change because then you won't have cheap food. You better grow your own. But let's just talk about houses when it comes to minimalism. My definition of a minimalist house would be just a place I can eat, sleep, shit, and more luxuriously park a car. So if I had a house like Cappy's minimalist house, it would be a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, basically a studio apartment. My buddy Khan's got this. But I'd add a garage. Now, of course, that's because I'm in Minnesota and it gets cold here. So if you're in the South, you could do with a carport, and you see that in Phoenix and Florida and other places. But that's it. That's all I would need. And the house I built is about as small as it can get. Because builders like, well, no, it's too small of a house. We're not going to make enough money. I mean, we could maybe as a project or a side thing we can. And then also I'll be having another person with me. But for one person, you just need, and I think my buddy Khan's place is no more than 300, maybe 400 square feet. 30, no, maybe it's 20 by 20. Maybe it's 400. And he's got a nice little patio out back you can sit on, a nice little carport they can park at. For me, I would like to have a 400 square foot studio apartment with a garage that I can park a motorcycle and a car in and have working tools to work on. So in case I got to fix things up or whatever, but I also enjoy mechanics. But that is, and so your garage would probably be bigger than your actual house. And that's all you really need. And it would be easy on your mind. There wouldn't be a lot of maintenance. It'd be cheaper. The savings of which could eat, compared to, I don't know what the average U.S. home is up to now, like 2,500 square feet, some egregiously large house. The money you'd save in property taxes, costs, materials, everything else would more than afford you post-apocalyptic amenities like, generators or solar power array or water, hydroelectric power, assuming you had water on your property. I've thought about just to ensure if there is a collapse, I have it so it takes on more of the role of insurance, but that stuff's expensive. I looked at solar panels, which are the most consistent anyway. That's like 30 grand, man. I think I did the math. I'm like, I don't think I'll spend 30 grand in electric bills for the rest of my life. Like, maybe if I was 15, it would have, but I don't have that many years left. So it's not cost beneficial. I like the idea of wind, but that's because I'm usually in windy areas. And having a backup just in case. You're going to have to get battery banks. You're looking at significant costs. And then if you want to do farming, Okay, well, you got to fertilize. You got to rotate your crops. You got to know what rotating crops is. You got to figure out what's going to grow in your environment. Maybe you do need a greenhouse. Um, yeah, and that is just a lot of work. That is a ton of work. And one person, this is why you need a community. You need to belong to a community of people. You can't be a farmer, be a mechanic, and then be a livestock farmer and be a soldier to protect all that in a post-apocalyptic world. You're going to need to specialize. So the soldiers are probably going to say, "Hey, it's Negan. I take half to keep the soldiers alive and protect you from other things and other people, but also me because I'm threatening and evil." Um, but it's if you're remote, maybe. But if I were to have electricity in a post-apocalyptic world, I'd have blinds on my house. I don't want people thinking there's electricity there. I don't want anyone getting hip to the jive on that. I was like, oh no, nothing here. Dirt poor. Um, and so yeah, I mean, in today's world, the average person, I'd say 400 square foot studio house. You can get a condo if you want to, whatever. I'd also ideally have a parking garage, for my car and tools. But that's it. That's all you really need. Two people, I'd say. See, then that exponentially goes up because you need at least one bedroom. You're going to need another room to store everybody else's stuff. And you're going to need two rooms to get the hell away from each other. So now you've increased the size of a house by at least 3 or 4 times. And there's probably another car there. But if you're just on your own, you could get by a lot cheaper. So that's the most minimalist house. In a post-apocalyptic world, yeah, it would be nice to have all those green technologies and amenities. It'd be nice to be able to refine fuel somehow so you can have a tractor. I don't know how you're going to do it. Get rid of the XL pipeline. Didn't Trudeau just like totally screw over Alberta too? Like, isn't that like, I don't need no oil. What are you going to do with it? Live? We're going to live off my own farts. But yeah, you're going to have bigger issues like, well, if there's a post-apocalyptic world, should I go wind or solar? I'm like, you better have guns and you better have like a team. You better be really good friends with everyone within a 10-mile radius around you. And you better have like, hey, if the world does go to pot, do we all agree we're going to have the town of Clarytopia? Huh? All I ask is you just put a big statue of me in the center of the park and do exactly what I say. And we'll all get through this together. But you're going to have like a group with a doctor and a dentist and a mechanic, and a lot of soldiers, a lot of farmers too. Motor swaps for $5. You live rooting for you to get better, man. I already feel better. I just didn't do a ton of super chats and let my voice rest. I took some sleeping and I just relaxed. I had a lot of stuff and some other things finally went good. Like I resolved a bunch of tedious managerial crap that is done. Had the same break from so much going on and pushing it. Only way to beat it, the evil sleep thing. Yeah, no, I did get sleep. Oh, codename Thea. Thanks again for the 20. You don't have to donate the money, man. The money's I appreciate it, but $20 is very generous at the first time. I don't think humans evolved in a way to be monogamous. No, they did not. There's no primate on this planet that works in the realms of monogamy. I would argue that the push for the nuclear family back then was just another means of control. No, I would disagree. Because that's come from every corner and every culture of the world and goes back to biblical times. Now, of course, you had harems and some of the older dudes had multiple wives, and some people in some cultures still have multiple wives. But the idea of a family, like look at wedding ceremonies. Now there's wedding ceremonies in Thailand. They're not the same as in the United States, and they're not the same in Japan, and those are not the same in Croatia. But they all got wedding ceremonies. It's all a big deal, and we all really get pissed off when there's philandering, and we kind of frown upon divorce. So it may not be as long of a biogenetic force in the evolution of humans, but I think it's there for natural reasons. I don't think it was forced on us. I could be wrong, and it just seemed to work really well. I don't know. Mom and dad raising their kids. What do I know? Motor swaps, $5. Also on a big agree on the tools. Abilities and skills are tradable. Doing that now for hard assets. If you need a motor brought back to life, let me know. I'm not that good. I've done compression testing on cylinders. I have not rebuilt an engine. I'm not that good. All right, there you go. Questions, answers. assholeconsulting.com, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't, because me and Chad and a couple other people occasionally do a podcast here. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.